Wolfpack, Blue Devils, two teams on the opposite side of the spectrum right now. But this right here, this is March.
You are Locked On College Crossover, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, Wolfpack fans? What's up, Duke Blue Devil fans? Welcome to a special crossover episode for you here on Monday. A Tobacco Road showdown inside the Lenovo Center in Raleigh, North Carolina. This evening, 7 p.m. tip-off. The Duke Blue Devils are a 9.5-point favorite. We welcome on former Wolfpack defensive tackle Kenton Gibbs and our friend in blue, that is JJ Jackson, the host of Locked On Blue Devils. JJ, these two teams are feeling vastly different inside the ACC standings right now. What's the vibe check on the Duke side of things?
I'm so happy to be with you guys. I'm glad we're able to do another crossover ahead of a really fun and exciting basketball game. I know that spirits might be different on one side as opposed to the other, but listen, this is perfect. It is March. The tournament is right around the corner. The only matchups that Duke has this week are against NC State and then North Carolina coming up on Saturday. It just feels like everything is right with the world. And man, I can't wait for a game like this that we've got between these two teams tonight, fellas. What more could you ask for? In the state of North Carolina, Duke and NC State, a little bit later in the week, we get to take on North Carolina. You guys still have Stanford coming up on Saturday. And then the ACC tournament next week. This is just lovely, fellas.
Oh, it's lovely. What more could you ask for? I could ask for a team that could close out a damn game against Notre Dame. That's what more I could ask for, JJ. That's what more I could ask for. I could ask for a team that knows not to throw the ball to a corner against the trap against Miami. That's what I could ask for. Don't foul the shooter. Don't leave the shooter. You know what? I'm sorry, man. I let out a lot there that had nothing to do with you. I apologize to you, and I apologize to Blue Devils. But I'm just sick and tired of Duke winning right now. Oh, we got our men's basketball team winning the ACC championship. We got our women's basketball team winning the ACC regular season championship.
I'm wearing a football championship shirt.
Oh, here we go.
Football for crying out loud.
Here we go with this guy.
I'm tired, JJ. I'm tired. Producers, play Labyrinth. I'm tired because I am. I'm wore the hell out. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, but I must give credit where credit is due. Duke has earned all of those wins. You've earned everything that you've done. Jon Scheyer, Kara Lawson, Manny Diaz, they've earned it. They've earned it. But, yeah, you talk about what more could you want. I could want a lot more things. I could want a whole hell of a lot more things. But I do agree with your sentiment that the ACC schedulers, the folks who put this thing together, they did a heck of a job. Because all of the teams coming down the stretch that have that are in contention for the double buys and all that, they're all playing each other, right? And so there's a lot on the table here. There's a lot at stakes here, not just bragging rights, which, by the way, if NC State beats Duke here, I know everybody, very long shot. Yes, get your laughs out the way. Enjoy it. Laugh from your diaphragm. If NC State beats Duke here, this will be one of the first times in, I want to say, 40-something years that we swept both Duke and North Carolina in the regular season. So that would be massive. But I'm telling you, the vibes are not great in Raleigh right now. The vibes are not great. As a matter of fact, we want to rename RDU Airport because we just don't want Durham to be associated with us right now.
Things have certainly been better on the red side of the tracks in Raleigh, but this first couple minutes we'll focus on Duke. Obviously, Duke is the number one team in the country, rightfully deserved. They're 27-2, 15-1 inside the ACC conference. They just completely thumped in every aspect the UVA Cavaliers on Saturday by 26 points. But JJ, outside of what is obvious in elite players and elite coaching, what has been the driving factor for the Blue Devils this season?
Yeah, I think it's hard to look beyond just the makeup of this team and guys taking larger roles this season compared to last. Yeah, they're really a five talented freshman class that Duke was able to put together after the entire starting five a season ago was drafted into the NBA. But I look at the leaders of somebody like Caleb Foster stepping up and taking a much larger role. He knows what it takes to play deep in March. He knows what these big-time games mean at this portion of the season. Isaiah Evans has been everything that you can ask for and more after a freshman season where he was further down the bench and not utilized as frequently. Malik Brown has stepped up. Patrick Gongba II has been awesome for Duke as he's played so much throughout the course of the season. And then, you've got, once again, the the player of the year, this time in Cameron Boozer. Last year, it was Cooper Flagg. This time around, it is, it's nice, guys, to go from the player of the year in Cooper Flagg to the player of the year in Cameron Boozer. And just watching him play, the way he operates, it's so fun, fellas. I can't lie to you. It's really fun.
Yeah, I bet it is fun watching your players of the year play like players of the year. We had the ACC preseason player of the year, and many would argue he's not the best player on the team this year. What a great time it's been in Raleigh. But when we look at Duke and what they've done, we talked about the great players, we talked about the great coaching. So often the players get bought up, right? Cooper Flagg, number 1 pick. Cam Boozer, guy that's not necessarily in contention for that number 1 pick, but obviously player of the year type guy at the moment. So let's talk about the coaching aspect of it a little bit. In what ways have you seen Jon Scheyer grow this year that you would say, hey, Jon Scheyer from last year, we probably take a loss or 2 more, or he doesn't have the guts to make this call last year that he did this year, which positively impacted the team?
Yeah, this dude certainly needs to be the ACC Coach of the Year and the National Coach of the Year. It's just silly at this point what he's doing with the collection of talent and helping Duke down the stretch. Early in ACC play, this was a Duke team, guys, that the effort was not there defensively whatsoever. They were still trying to kind of copy the blueprint from a year ago where they were switching everything 1 through 5 because Duke had just such versatile defenders in Sion James and Tyrese Proctor, Cooper Flagg, Kaman Malawach. All of them were great defenders in themselves. This year, Coach Scheyer realizes that that's not the makeup, that's not the DNA and personnel. Let me switch up some things with how we operate defensively, and they've turned it into an absolute unit. A really impressive win for Duke just a couple of weeks ago against Michigan, when many people believe that could possibly be a Final Four or national championship title game preview, and Duke came out on the winning side of things. He draws up amazing plays offensively. Duke really competes every single time around on the glass. Once again, they do not have a single scholarship player shorter than 6'5", so they've got tons of size. It's one of the tallest teams in all of America, and just the way Scheyer schemes it up, it's hard to complain because he is absolutely a magician, a scientist, whatever kind of fun analogy we want to make for him, just chefing things up over there in the kitchen, making this team look so great.
And obviously this time of year, before we get into the big dance, there's so much talk about a ceiling and a floor of a team when you're projecting out into the big tournament. But with Duke, it's quite obvious the ceiling is going to be a national championship.
Yes.
Where would you say the floor is, JJ, for this squad?
Yeah, I really have a hard time seeing this team lose in the first weekend, right? I certainly think that they're going to be able to get back past whoever that competition is. And then we've seen close games every year. Once you get into the tournament, when you're playing in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8, upsets happen, wrong matchups happen, and that sort of thing. But the way Duke's been able to play defensively, like I feel like, it's dangerous to say like you feel this team is bound to get to the Final Four. That is so hard to do. Mike Krzyzewski's the best one to ever do it. And in 42 seasons as a head coach, he only won the thing 5 times, right? So percentages play out, and it's really tough to go and win this thing. I can already see Kenton start to scowl a little bit.
Because only 5 times, JJ. Do you know how many programs have 5 or more?
I understand, but I'm just saying where the standard is that you win. The percentages, like I want them all, man, and it just doesn't work that way.
See, that's the greed they talk about in the Bible, ladies and gentlemen. That's that gluttony right there. He said, "I want them all. I'm like Ash Ketchum, gotta have them all." That's sicko behavior. But I get you, JJ.
I really do think the floor's got to be, Sweet 16. Elite 8 with the talent that's on this team. I don't think anything else is really acceptable.
In terms of this team, and you talk about the greed and wanting it all and all that good stuff. What would it mean in terms of Jon Scheyer if he were to win a national championship this year, and if he weren't to win a national championship this year? Explain to me kind of both scenarios and what they mean.
Yeah, I think he's clearly made it. Everybody in the sport should respect him as one of the top coaches in the entire sport, point blank period. It's no longer Coach K's program, that he's been taking over and that sort of thing. The Duke Brotherhood program within itself is still all in one, but Jon Scheyer very much is established as the face of this thing as Duke continues to move forward in modern college basketball. If he wins it, there's quite frankly just no greater start to a coaching career when you think about the expectation and pressures that were there. And even if he doesn't get, and you look at someone who's added yet another ACC championship on Saturday when Duke knocked off Virginia, they claimed at least a share of the title. All Duke has to do is beat either NC State tonight or knock off North Carolina on Saturday, and they are outright ACC champions in the regular season. We'll see what they do, putting a tournament run together next week in Charlotte. If they make it to the Final Four, I mean, you're just adding to Coach Scheyer's resume at this point and building a stronger and stronger case for the best start ever to a career, knowing you're following the GOAT and the pressure. There, you look at other sports and other examples of this, it's not supposed to be this easy. It's difficult to follow somebody like that, and Jon Scheyer's making it seem like everybody should be able to follow success as successfully as he has.
Obviously, the Wolfpack will have their work cut out for them this evening inside the Lenovo Center. Coming up next, we'll switch chairs. We'll give JJ the reins. He'll ask us about how the Wolfpack are hoping and praying they can find their way into March Madness. This comes after a quick word from our sponsors. Stick with us. Our first Monday sponsor is FanDuel. College basketball is nonstop. The big games, the tight spreads, momentum swings every single night. From early tip-offs to late-night West Coast shootouts, there's always action on the board. And now, FanDuel is giving you a way to turn that energy into even bigger potential wins with the College Basketball Parlay Profit Boost. You can build any college hoops parlay you want, the rivalry games, the ranked matchups, whatever fits any read. You can mix players, totals, and player props to match how you see the slate playing out. Then you can apply the Profit Boost and instantly bump up that potential payout. Go safe, go bold, ride the team that you've been following all season. It's your parlay, your style, and now with more upside behind it. Head on over to FanDuel.com in order to get started. That's FanDuel.com. FanDuel, play your game. Our second Monday sponsor is Indeed. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inboxes overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for Indeed. Indeed Sponsored Jobs helps you reach the people who are actually a fit for what you're looking for. All the tabs and all the specifications, so you're not just hoping the right candidate will stumble across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In just the minute that I've been speaking to you, companies like yours have made 27 hires on Indeed, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who will actually check your boxes with Indeed Sponsored Jobs. Listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help your job get the premium status that it deserves at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show or both of our shows by saying that you heard about Indeed from this podcast. That's Indeed.com/podcast, PODCAST podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed Sponsored Jobs.
Welcome back into the Locked On College crossover, Locked On Blue Devils and Locked On Wolfpack. I'm JJ Jackson from the Duke side of things. For NC State, we've got Grayson Boone and Kenton Gibbs. And fellas, we've got a good one tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. It's Duke and it's NC State. And I look at this Wolfpack team, first year under head coach Will Wade. And the expectations when you make a big splashy hire like this jump out through the roof. It's an NC State fan base that's been so fun for Duke fans in North Carolina to interact with over the years. And now you're an NC State team that has lost 4 of your last 5 games down the stretch. The one win being against North Carolina. We'll get to that in a moment. I guess, Kenton, for you first, what's been happening, man? Things were going so great, and here we are down the stretch, and NC State has been losers of 4 of their last 5.
Lack of defensive intensity, lack of focus, lack of size. I feel like those are kind of the biggest things that have doomed this team at certain points of time. I can point to, different games where each of those things has been a problem. Obviously, against UVA, if you don't have the size, you're not going to get it done. You're going to have a really, really hard time beating UVA without size. Lack of focus. We have lost multiple games due to late game collapses, due to doing things that senior-laden teams should not be doing. Like, I can understand if we were a team that on senior night, nobody was walking. For example, our women's basketball team, some of the struggles that they've been through, I attribute that to these players are young. Nobody walked on senior night in terms of scholarship players.
Right.
Cool. You're looking at a very young team. Against Miami, we had a senior 2 times in Trey Holloman, a 5th-year guy, get the ball in the corner, standing still against the trap. Grayson and I talked about this on the show, and I'm sorry to get a little choked up there, but it's tough to even describe like how Grayson and I both stopped playing basketball competitively at very young ages, right?
Yeah.
Grayson realized the diamond is where he was best. I realized my hand being in the dirt works out pretty well for me. And we both know, hey, if you're going to catch it in the corner, you need to be moving so that you can get out, or somebody else needs to be moving and you need to get rid of it right away. Instead, we had multiple possessions that did not happen against Miami and then against Notre Dame. Same thing in terms of us not being able to break pressure, in terms of us saying, oh, no, they're picking us up full court. We don't know what to do, in terms of firing up bad shots as if we've got a bunch of young players. That's just not the case. It's just not the case at all. So a lack of size, lack of focus, lack of defensive intensity as well. It's ultimately what has doomed this team at multiple spots. And I will say there were points in time where I'm looking at Will Wade like, okay, now wait a minute. It's one thing for this to happen once, right? It's one thing for us to say, oh, the players weren't prepared, or they were prepared, but the moment was too big for them once. How you then don't drill that to the point where they cannot get it wrong again is beyond me. And yet, late game situation against Notre Dame, we have a lead and we get it wrong again. So part of this does come down to our big splashy hire not accomplishing enough. But I'd mainly say it's personnel. We just don't have it in terms of, again, not only the physical tools, but also the mental makeup to say, I'm going to be tough and persevere anyway. The mental makeup to say, I'm the ACC preseason player of the year, damn it. I'm going to find a way to impose my will on Notre Dame. I'm going to give you 25. I'm going to give you 30. This is Notre Dame here. And so ultimately, that's probably what I would say is the prognosis on this team.
Well, I think you look at this team, and I mentioned the one win in this stretch of the last 5 is against North Carolina in a rivalry game. 13 days ago, nearly 2 weeks, you're able to win 82-58 over the Tar Heels. Grayson, it's an NC State team that understood the challenge at hand, knew that this is a game that means a whole lot. Will Wade understood the significance of it, and NC State was able to show up and show out. What went so well in a game like this, and what would be the formula there to replicate in tonight's game against Duke?
Well, I don't know if they'll be able to replicate it per se, but I think what makes the last 4 losses so irritating was the effort was not the same as it was when we saw Carolina. Now, in the preseason, there's a bunch of talk, and the fan bases, they go back and forth, but there was a clear difference in the effort and focus that NC State had in that game against North Carolina. The other 4 games, it has not been there. So the fan base and probably the coaching staff as well is really trying to figure out what the world's going on here. How is there this big of a disconnect between one game to the next? Because some of these games that we're losing, we lose hard. And by hard, I mean by 40 points, or you have the most, irritating collapse in the last minute of the game that you can possibly imagine. But how in the world did you get it so right on one night? I think you can just attribute that to focus. They came in locked in. They knew the task at hand. They knew they had a better opportunity because UNC was missing their 2 best players, so that's always, a gift in the basket for you there. But, the focus and the late game execution, to Kenton's point, it's just been a complete annihilation of some fundamental basketball. And it's been entirely frustrating because you found yourself in a great spot to clinch a double bye, and now we're, Duke is now a do-or-die situation for NC State. And I'm not sure that's a good spot for you to want to be in, especially this late in the season and how well Duke is currently playing. But the lack of focus, I'd say basically the entire year, that's been definitely one of the biggest problems for this team. But of late, man, 4 of the last 5, the focus has not been there at all.
Well, then, Kenton, give me kind of the personnel specifics, because it's Cameron Boozer, who is, massive on the interior. He does a little bit of everything all over the floor. And then Patrick Gongba II is Duke's 5-man, and Duke, one of the best rebounding teams. You mentioned struggling with the UVA size. Yep. Like personnel specifically, who are the guys on NC State's roster Duke fans need to be aware of that need to make a big impact in this game?
Oh, boy. The specifics of our personnel. Well, the specifics of our personnel, you just said that the shortest guy y'all have on scholarship is 6'5", and our center is 6'9". That's factual. Van Allen Lubin, he is a skilled guy. He has a feathery touch around the rim. He is better defensively than he gets credit for. I really and truly do believe that. However, there are limitations. When you are 6'9" and not an explosive athlete, there are just limitations there. Not saying he's a bad athlete, but I mean, you've got to be a Charles Barkley type of like jump out the gym. When you jump, the springs are there. I know everybody knows him as the donut guy on TNT now. There was a time back in the day where it's a reason he played in the NBA as long as he did, made it to the Hall of Fame at his height. We don't have that type of springiness out of him. And with Darian Williams, if you're talking about the guys to watch out for who could be impact guys, Darian Williams, ACC preseason player of the year, hasn't quite lived up to it, but he shows the glimpses. There are nights where he comes out and he's absolutely that guy. And even on nights where he doesn't have it, toward the end of the game, generally, even though it has not shown up all the time as of late, generally he just turns into like, oh, I think I'm LeBron James for the last couple of minutes of every game. And the player that probably has overplayed what he was expected to be the most, Quadir Copeland. Huge guard. I mean, he's a guy that's a long 6'5", 6'6". He just takes guards to the paint and baptizes them. He says, come on, young man. I know you want to give your soul to Christ. Let's go ahead and put you under here with a little drop step. And then you got a double. And then all of a sudden he's finding the Paul McNeil on the perimeter. He's finding the Matt Abel on the perimeter. When you think about NC State's starting lineup, our 1 through 4 can all shoot the three at an extremely high clip. There's not one of those guys that you feel uncomfortable with. Oh, man, if he's got to take a three, I'm nervous, right? You think of, Quadir Copeland, who I've already mentioned. You think of Trey Holloman, who's a guy that has been in a lot. And, only time he's missed was because of some injury. You think of Paul McNeil, who, his nickname is Wet Ball Paul, for crying out loud. The young man can knock it down and has got one of the sweetest strokes in the NCAA. And then, of course, you've got Darian Williams. So 1 through 4, you've got a lot of guys who can hit the three. And I'm going to tell you that you have no shot against Duke without that. You have no shot without drawing some of those big guys out of the paint. You have no chance. You go ahead and in the words of Carolina rapper The Baby, packing the mail, it's gone. The game is already over if you cannot shoot the three ball against Duke, because 99.999% of teams don't have the size. We definitely don't have the size. It's not there to play a game where it's like, we're going to attack the rim, we're going to feed Van Allen Lubin in the post, and it's like, what will we accomplish with that? So ultimately, those are the guys that are going to be the primary players. Matt Abel off the bench has been the X factor all year, but that's probably the main guys to look out for.
How much do NC State fans still think about the Final Four team and beating Duke in the Elite Eight, fellas? Because I can't get that game out of my head.
We certainly think about it, and I think especially, coming down the stretch now, we get back into March, and the last March memories we have, because we didn't make any last year, we're beating Duke in that Elite Eight and getting to the Final Four. It will live in NC State Wolfpack lore forever, but yeah. I think the most irritating part of some of the ways we've been playing lately is like, we would like to make more. We feel like we have the coach in order to make more, so how do we, rectify the situation? But, there's special moments. Obviously, DJ Burns is going to live forever in March Madness lore as well. That's a special guy, and
that's some size that'd be nice to have in the front court.
I tell you what, the wonders that a DJ Burns could do for this team this year is beyond comprehension.
Well, he should have sued the NCAA for another year. All these guys suing for a 7th, 8th, 9th year. Hell, I'm about to sue the NCAA, get my hand back in the dirt and the red and white. But no, in terms of how often the Wolfpack fans think about it, I'm going to hate to say this, but when Phillip Rivers said the Wolfpack ain't for soft people, he was absolutely right. We don't think about it all that much. I don't see fans bring it up all that much. It's a thing where it's like, oh, great, that happened. Now what's next?
Yeah.
NC State fans, I love them to death. Wolfpack Nation is the best nation there is, and Grayson and I have benefited greatly from how locked in the Wolfpack Nation is. But the reality is, it almost feels like every loss is a referendum for like, do we need to get rid of this coach? And it's like, whoa, hold on, guys.
Have some perspective.
Exactly. Like with Will Wade, a lot of people are saying, oh, he's a snake oil salesman, and these last 5 games show it. And it's like, okay, if these 5 games were the only sample size you had, sure. But the reality is, Will Wade has done a bunch of things just this year, in year 1, with recruiting class 0 for all intents and purposes. He's done a bunch of things that we keep hearing. First time in NC State since 1964. First time in NC State since 73. First time in NC State since 90. And here's the thing about a thing starting with first time since 19 anything, right? We are now closer to 2050 than we are 2000.
Wow. Yeah.
I didn't need to hear that today.
Well, listen, Grayson, you're 30, okay? You're 30,
I'm in that same boat.
Exactly. I know my baldness may give me a little advanced aging here, but we're all getting up there. And the reality is, we're looking at a spot where people keep saying like, oh, well, I'm worried, I'm concerned. It's like, dude, we are better than we have been by most metrics by a mile. This is one of the best ACCs that we've seen in quite some time. Half of the teams in an expanded ACC, by the way, are going to make the tournament, and we're sitting here complaining because we are also firmly in tournament position, but we're losing games that we shouldn't and things like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm never excited about a loss. I'm not a moral victory guy. I don't believe in, I just want to win. I want to dominate in everything that I do. But with that being said, we have to recognize Will Wade is bringing in a different thing. And so to answer your question of how much Wolfpack fans think about it, not much, because it's always on to the next thing, on to the next. What are we doing now? What have you done for me lately? And all that type of thing.
Things were feeling so good for Duke in that game. About 10 minutes left in the second half. You think you're on your way to the Final Four, and NC State has the last laugh. We'll see what happens in tonight's game between these two teams. I'm certainly excited about it. And there's a world in which, here's our teaser as we go to a break here. There's a world in which maybe it's not the worst thing if Duke were to drop this game ahead of a March Madness run. We'll tell you what that means and so much more when this Locked On College crossover continues in a moment. What if sports were traded like markets? Now you can put your sports IQ to work in real time with Robinhood prediction markets. It's not you against the house. It's you participating in a live market. You can buy or sell your positions live all game long. Use your sports knowledge in the moments that matter. Robinhood prediction markets changes the game. It's people moving the action. So when momentum shifts, you can move with it. I always knew the game, but never had a dynamic way to apply that knowledge. Now I can actually take part live in a market powered by people. You're no longer just a spectator. Play by play, you decide. Trade every play with Robinhood, now available across the U.S. Download the Robinhood app now to begin. Futures and cleared swaps trading involves significant risk and is not appropriate for everyone. Event contracts are offered by Robinhood Derivatives, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant and swap firm.
Last couple minutes here of our Locked On College crossover. Monday night inside the Lenovo Center, a 7 p.m. tip-off between the Duke Blue Devils and the NC State Wolfpack. As previously stated, Duke is a 9.5-point favorite. That might be a little bit generous based on some of the basketball we have watched lately. There's an interesting nugget I saw, JJ, float out into the Twitter sphere. The last 3 times that Duke won the national championship in Indianapolis at the end of the season, they had also lost to NC State in Raleigh. Do you think there could be potential dark magic in the air this evening?
Yeah, and that was the tease that we had just a moment ago. I mean, what a thought to have for a moment that 2015, 2010, and 1991, when the Final Four has been in Indianapolis, it's a great feeling for Duke because they found success winning the whole thing. But even looking further into those seasons, a loss at NC State. And it's crazy to think that could be the case. A 27-2 overall team at Duke. On paper, like we said, you're not really seeing it. In some ways, I hate to say you wouldn't mind a loss, but it just feels like when you've got this super long winning streak going into the tournament, maybe it's a good mental reset, to take one on the face, let NC State have their moment, go into the North Carolina game on Saturday, feeling great, and then turn it into a big ACC tournament and postseason run as well. I say all that, and then UNC State people do frustrate me from time to time, right? Just wanting to be a part of the basketball conversation so much and so frequently. So those thoughts come into my head, and I'm like, just go ahead and beat them.
Hey, listen, all right? I just want to make one thing clear.
Yeah, I'm ready for you to go ahead.
Jon Scheyer, if you're listening to this, I heard you got some folks who listen to podcasts on the staff. So if you're on Duke staff and listen to this, do you not want a national championship or what? Okay. All the stars are aligned for you to go get your boy. Go get your boy. But every time that you got one in Indianapolis, they just told you what happens.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't mess with these types of things. You can't mess with the feng shui because all of a sudden
you're like altering history. You can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do it. You can't. We learned this from these recent Spider-Man movies. It's your canon event. It's a fixed point in time. He's got to lose Uncle Ben every time. You've got to lose in Raleigh every time. Because if you don't, the universe in which you win a championship collapses. At this point, that's the best I got because I got nothing else that'll stop Duke besides them deciding to stop themselves here. So we're going to go with the canon event route and say, hey, Scheyer, you need to give this one up. Play the walk-ons early. Let them get a little time out there. Let them see what it's like to be heckled in Lenovo because, again, this is a terrible matchup for NC State. So much length, so much talent, so much cohesiveness. You talk about the defensive intensity. I mean, talk about the offense that Duke is putting up right now. Obviously, that's how good their offense is. I believe they're the top scoring offense in the league. And JJ didn't even mention. Yeah. They're filling it up better than anybody else in the ACC. And JJ's like, I mean, yeah, it's cool or whatever. Like they all right. They kind of, it's cool, it's cute. This is a Duke team that's an absolute buzzsaw. And right now, Riley is that. The Wolfpack of that log. We're that log that's in the horror movie that you're tied to. It's coming right down the pipe. So it's not looking great for the guys in red and white.
If it wasn't obvious already, we are grasping at straws to figure out how NC State might have a shot in this one, but. In college baseball, there's a hot, cold, hot theory where basically some of the teams that find themselves playing for a championship at the end of the year, they experience a little stretch where all of a sudden they forget what they're doing. If Duke can maybe do that for one night, because I don't expect they'll do that the whole week because they got the UNC Tar Heels at the end of that.
Can't lose twice to them.
NC State will gladly accept one cold night because they haven't had any for the entirety of this year. But obviously, like I said, Duke is 27-2. NC State is desperately trying to not, back themselves into March Madness here. Believe it or not, NC State is actually still alive for an ACC 4 seed, but it will take winning this game in order to do so. Scores and X factors, gentlemen. Kenton, you go first. Final score and who is the X factor for the winning team?
I've got about 100-83 Duke. I think NC State's going, we're going to put up some points. It's going to be a fun game.
That's some points.
Once Duke kind of packs it in, but I don't see a world where there's a ton of stops here, especially by NC State. And ultimately, I think that, that garbage time comes fairly early. And, this is a team that they've shown they'll fight at the end. So they'll do everything they can to put up something. But I don't see a good prognosis for the Wolfpack in this one. Like we've already mentioned, too much length, too much talent, too many lacks of those things, and lacks of focus on NC State's side. And I don't believe that Jon Scheyer believes in the dark magic. So I think that he's going to send his guys out there to go get them one. And I think they take one in Raleigh decisively.
Final score and X factor, JJ.
I'm still stuck on 83 points that Kenton's got for NC.
You see how greedy he is? You see how greedy he is? He said, you got me winning by double the spread, basically, and it's not enough. Oh, and by the way, my X factor in this game is Quadir Copeland. When he's on, the Wolfpack offense is totally different. When he's not, it's a bit tougher.
Yeah, a weird kind of tidbit for people. Florida State has the most points scored against Duke on the season with 87. A game in which Duke won 91-87. So really, that was one of Duke's first ACC games of the season where they were still trying to figure things out defensively. Obviously, that hasn't happened in a long time that teams have been able to score like that as of late. I think Duke is going to be able to take care of business here. I'm hopeful that they're able to beat NC State and still find a way to win a national championship at the end of the season. I don't want to eliminate the reality where we're able to go and get that job done. In terms of an X factor, I got to shout out my guy, Cameron Boozer, which is obviously shocker. He's the best player in the sport. But I've been so greedy, Kenton, that he's been putting up 18 points, 9 rebound performances. And I'm a little bored because there were so many stretches during the year where this guy was averaging 24 and 14. So I want him to be able to pad the stat sheet a little bit, make those numbers at the end of the year look a little bit better. I like Duke to win a game like this, 85 call it 70, 85-70. I like Duke to come out on top.
I just want to say this, Grayson. I know you're going to finish it out. But see, and this is why I keep saying, if gluttony needed, like on 7 Deadly Sins, if they need an avatar, you would see JJ standing there just rubbing his hands together in Duke gear. If an NC State player, if we added a player averaging 18 and 9, that young man would be our leading scorer by 4 points and our leading rebounder by 2.
Yeah, it's a nice luxury to have.
This slump is better than Go ahead, Grayson. Go ahead. I'm sick of JJ. I'm ready to get out of here.
I mean, look, I can give you the rah-rah speech and make you think that dark magic is in the air, and I don't know, maybe it would be a benefit to Duke to lose this game, but I think we all know that I'd be lying. NC State, the defensive deficiencies have been glaring lately, and then you couple that in with the lack of effort, lack of focus, and the inability to close out any of these games. I just don't see how NC State would potentially even beat Duke, even if everything does go right for the Wolfpack in this instance. So I think this could get ugly. I think Cam Boozer obviously being, well, potentially the best player in the country. NC State's going to try and limit him, and, well, that might fail on its face anyway. But I'm a little bit worried about Isaiah Evans in this game because the three-point shooting that we've been allowing, not just at home but on the road, it kills us, and we don't really seem to make enough adjustments to not let it kill us. And I think Isaiah Evans in a game like this one, he could go off for, a ton of points, despite what Boozer may or may not do. I got Duke by a score of 95-71. I think it does get ugly early. I don't think Jon Scheyer is going to let us breathe in this game. But yeah, I think it's going to get ugly. I think Duke wins this game. NC State's going to have to find a way to, well, compete in this game. And if you can't get this one, Stanford becomes a must-win game in every sense of the imagination. Two teams on the opposite ends of the spectrum as March has now arrived. But JJ, we're looking forward to this game, win or loss. We got to talk about it either way. 7 p.m. inside the Lenovo Center. As always, JJ, thanks for hanging out with us.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody for watching the show, and be sure to continue to support both Locked On Blue Devils and Locked On Wolfpack. These crossovers are the best part. I love being able to send friendly jabs back and forth to you guys. Always love seeing you fellas.
A jab feels like a haymaker when it's coming from Muhammad Ali, and that's kind of what your team is bringing here. So thank you, JJ, for leaving us with two black eyes here, based on what Duke basketball has done to us this year, while wearing a Duke football ACC championship shirt.
Champs on top.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Crossovers are banned from Locked On Wolfpack and Locked On Blue Devils. We will not have another one until we beat you all again in a Elite Eight.
There we go.
Thank you all for joining us. As always, we'll see y'all for the next one.